Hi, I'm Steve Skinner, and today we're going to talk about having patience with God's plan for our lives. The best example that I can give you from my life is when God called me to become a minister. The very first time I can remember Him calling me to ministry was at the age of 17. I was at church camp in Indiana at Yellow Creek Lake. I didn't listen. Like most 17-year-olds, I thought I could take on the world, and I knew better more than anybody else. Didn't need to do that. God showed His patience by letting me go out into the world and prove myself wrong. And 27 years later, He called me to the ministry again. So that's just one example of how patient God is with not only me, but everybody. The hardest thing that I've done is become a foster parent. When my wife and I found out that we couldn't have children, my wife was adamant about being foster parents. I was selfish and didn't want to do it. Thought if I couldn't have my own children, why should I take care of anybody else's? And while I was fighting it, I kept hearing the same radio commercial every day on the way home from work at the exact same time about becoming a foster parent and how important it was to these kids to have a place to stay, to be safe, and to be taken care of. Since my wife and I become foster parents, I've never heard that commercial again. Foster parenting is worse than a roller coaster. You get a child that has no idea where they're at, who you are, why they're there, and you take care of them for as long as God sees fit for you to take care of them, and then they're gone. You may never see them again. We've had 5 that I've never seen since they went back into their regular homes. Our very first foster child we had for 11 months. When she went home, it tore us up bad. But the 2 that we have right now, we're trying to make more permanent. And it's been going on for 8 years. During those 8 years, we fought God and His will, thinking that we could control this situation. And we have no control over it. Only God has the control of this situation. So, basically, we've just turned it over to God and let Him work as long as it's going to take. Because He doesn't work in seconds and minutes and hours and days and weeks like we do. He has His own time frame, and there's nothing anybody can do about it but let Him work His plan out. So giving Him the patience that He gives to us, even though we probably will never be able to match that amount of patience, giving Him the patience to let Him work and not fighting is probably one of the best gifts we can give back to Him. Once you turn it back to Him, you would be amazed at the relief of stress that you have, because you're not fighting no more. If you're not fighting it, if you just let Him do what He's going to do, it takes a tremendous amount off of you. This morning, on my way to work, I had an experience that I've never had before. With the 2 foster kids that we had a meeting today about getting this more permanent. And I was driving to work thinking about how bad the situation's going to be, instead of thinking about the positive and letting God control it. And I stopped and told myself the same thing that I've told my wife over and over. Stop worrying about it. God has this. Let Him do it. As I told myself that, it felt like somebody had reached up, laid their hands on my shoulders, and gently squeeze them. And then let go. Shortly after that, the song on the radio went off, and the next song come on, and it was Cast Your Cares. And in that song, it just basically tells you to turn over the problems back to God. Let Him work. Give Him the patience that He deserves to finalize the plans that He has in your life. No matter how, if it's a day plan,